All right, folks, so strap in because we're going to take a wild ride through the hype-filled world of artificial intelligence. You can't escape it. Every headline, every tech guru, every Silicon Valley startup seems to be shouting from the rooftops about how AI is going to change everything. Quote, AI will revolutionize software development, end quote, they say. And AI will be cooking your meals and driving your cars and making you toast, they promise, right? It all sounds amazing and groundbreaking and utterly transformative. But wait just a minute, because I've been around the tech block for more than a few times in my 25 years in the industry, and there's one thing I know, and that it's hype and it has a way of overshadowing reality. So I've seen countless revolutionary, air quotes, technologies come and go, failing to live to their lofty promises. And based on some recent developments, I have a hunch that AI might be reaching the zenith of its hype cycle. So buckle up because we're going to talk a little bit about these and take off our rose-colored glasses for AI. I think it's time for a long overdue reality check on the current state of AI. Let's dive in today. Welcome to Startup Pack. I'm Spencer Thomason. Here at Startup Pack, we train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps and build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so let's jump headfirst into this overhyped, crazy world of AI. You've heard the wide promises out there, and let's dive into it. So let's dive in a little bit. So very first, there was a bombshell that came off last week when there was news that about the AI world, that X.AI, the company behind some of the most hyped and quickly scaled AI, just admitted that their next-gen Grok model is going to be behind schedule. So the AI was supposed to blow out GPT-4, and it was supposed to blow it out of the water, but it's stuck in development limbo because, surprise, they didn't quite do it as fast as they thought they were going to. Now, this isn't just a minor hiccup. XAI has been one of the biggest cheerleaders in the AI revolution. They've had more funding. They've got Elon Musk's name behind it, and they're promising the Grok would be a giant leap forward in artificial intelligence. Now, I'm a huge Elon fan, and I'm a huge Tesla fan, and even a huge X fan. But the thing I'm going to tell you here is that Elon promises a lot with AI that hasn't really been delivered before. Ever heard of FSD, or full self-driving for Tesla? Yeah, it was promised to us that it would have robo-taxis by the end of 2020. It's 2025, right? So the fact is that they're struggling to get it out the door, and this is not a crazy news. But this is just one of the latest pieces that I'm seeing in a lot of AI hype. And I wanted to kind of take a minute and break down the Gartner hype cycle for you guys, because I think this is something that if you don't understand the hype cycle, especially with technology, that this is going to be something that you got to make sure you understand. So let me get that switched over here. So here we can see the article, and this is just one of many articles about AI, XAI's next-gen AI model didn't arrive on time, right? And that was one of many. But I want to talk a little bit about the Gartner hype cycle, right? Because this is something that you're going to see pretty frequently here, right? So what we see time is on the bottom and expectation is the y-axis, right? So the x-axis is time, y-axis is expectation. You have the innovation trigger. So I'm going to say in this case, this was like ChatGPT announcing in November of 2022, right? Hey, we've got AI. AI is amazing. We're going to take over the world. Gen AI is next, and come in 6 months, right? And we've seen this just crazy hype cycle, right? If you don't believe me, just look at the amount of investment money, VC money, that has been pumping into AI, right? And my prediction is we are somewhere around the peak of inflated expectations. And I'm going to go through and give some proof here, because what I think we're actually seeing that we've tipped over, actually. I think we're right about here in this, where we're starting to see this disillusionment to where we land into this trough of disillusionment, right? Then you see the slope of enlightenment. Now we've seen this, and then you see the plateau of productivity, where it actually becomes a productive thing. So I'm predicting we're somewhere on this downscale toward the trough of disillusionment. I think we're seeing AI promises not being met. I think we're seeing a lot of this hype cycle, and I'm going to take some time today and break down why I feel this way and why I think I'm not the only one who's thinking this way. But so as I talk about heading toward this trough of disillusionment and the peak of inflated expectation, this is what I'm going to be talking about here today, and talking about why I feel like AI is in this part of it. So if you've been around the tech block a few times, you can definitely get the sense of deja vu, right? We felt this before. We hit the innovation trigger, it goes up to peak of inflated expectations, and then we come back down into the trough of disillusionment, right? And so I think things are heading toward the trough of disillusionment, and this is when reality is going to set in, and people realize that this new tech isn't quite as magical as they thought, right? Projects are going to get canceled, and we're already starting to see that. funding will start to dry up. That hasn't happened yet. We're still seeing a massive amount of funding getting pumped in. But then everybody starts talking about things like an AI winter, right? And this is where we start getting into some of these, right? So you can see that one of the dirty secrets of the current AI boom is that a lot of progress has come from simply scaling up over existing technologies, right? So they haven't changed the technology. They just keep throwing more hardware at it, bigger language models, more data, more computing power, rinse and repeat. So, and as a lot of different VCs out there are talking about, we might be starting to hit the limits of scale of bigger is better approach, right? And there's a lot of VCs starting to talk about it here. And I'll show you one of these VCs here that we're talking about that is starting to hit this. So Foundation Capital here was talking about that we're starting to hit this, and he's talking about here that the second barrier of this is because we're really truly hitting where the compute limit is, right? I've been a big believer that we were truly at a point of almost infinite computing. Now, I've definitely been proved wrong here because we're starting to hit this architectural wall, right? There's only so much that you can do, and we've seen, even with Facebook or Meta's Lambda, for 205 billion input parameter, right? Or 405 billion input parameter, right? We're seeing that literally no matter how much you try to scale the hardware, it's still not solving, and we're still not getting any closer to AGI. So a lot of different noise is being made around AGI and, why we can't get to there. Now with AI, we hit some of these great strides because we were at that, that hype cycle, right? We were at that spin up. And right now we can't, we definitely can see that, training models are becoming cutting edge and they're getting better, but they're also becoming eye-wateringly expensive, right? The returns are diminishing. Models like O3, right, which are trying to work on getting to reason, right? They're going to hit a dead end and they're going to hit a scale size, right? Now, it's been really funny as I've started to talk about my thoughts on this on the channel to hear some of the people's pushback on this and some of the feedback that I've been getting. So I did one a few weeks ago here on AI Truths Exposed. We're hitting AI limits, right? Got about 1,000 views, which for me is pretty good. But this is really funny because I'm getting just these massive amount of funny responses, right? One thing to consider, and then I liked this one here, right? One thing to consider is that AI is the 8K of RAM floppy disk era. And I totally agree. New architecture, hardware, and techniques are coming. And that's the big question here. Are they coming? We have proven that with neural net running on modified gaming hardware, we can create systems that are on a cusp of thought and highly useful. And this is just from token completion. I also work in tech, and I think AI has a terrifying implications. Artificial systems that can seem to reason, see, generate art and video. This is in its infancy. This is on par with discovery of fire, and I feel like people who deny it are having an emotional reaction and not looking at what's right in front of us. But yes, only time will tell. Personally, I think we're about to get hyper weird. And I agree with that because I think we have a super powerful new tool that people aren't totally sure what to do with, right? Right now, they're trying to push this and promote this to really, think that they can do a lot of this. But I really liked this, 4K of, 8K of floppy disk, right? I remember the first time that I had a laptop with 4 gigs of RAM, and I thought, I'll never need more than this, right? And so it's a great part of this conversation, but it's really funny. And somebody says, hey, wake me up when all this BS is over. And it's funny because he got 7 likes, right? Now, I definitely said, hey, we're in the AI hype phase, right? And I give him, even Grok was behind. So I'm kind of talking about what I'm talking about here. And this guy was like, any news about AI hype dying down is good news. So thanks for this. And I said, hey, I'm just getting warmed up, right? He's like, this guy's like, hey, you're gonna be asleep for a really long time, basically saying it's not going to go away. This guy was asking for some more quotes. So I'm trying to make sure I include some more. But I thought this was really funny. How can one expose anything about AI if nobody knows where he's going to be in the next few months? Well, none of us know. So how can I expose anything? Well, it's a fair point, but like I've seen a lot. So he said, I'm so sad to see demotivated people like these no giving up. Who cares about the hype? We need a machine. That's what we're going to do. I think this is really interesting. And I got a lot of people who agree. And then, people here saying, hey, thanks for poking fun on it. And then the funny thing is we got people who dove in and were like, hey, there's nobody, you don't even know what you're talking about, right? And this guy here, I think, is really spot on. I think semiconductors and broader markets may have a rough year if big tech ends their GPU purchasing prisoners dilemma and stop buying NVIDIA GPUs. Someone will blink first. And I agree with this. Right now we're in this game of chicken where everybody's trying to buy GPUs as fast as they can because they're scared they're not going to have enough computation power to run AI as soon as we get AI stuff figured out. Now, this guy's really funny because he comes at me and says, like, hey, AI is not going to be magical. We can work towards it. But this guy's like, hey, you're wrong. And he tells me that I should, 2 days since you post this, it's already aged so poorly. And I'm thinking, that's kind of funny because I actually think it's aged quite well already. Because I definitely think, and this guy even thinks that I'm fooling myself, right? But this guy says AI is a fancy copy machine. You can see how much that we're definitely getting some split on all of this, right? We're seeing a lot of people diverge in a lot of different comments. So it's been funny to even see people's react. Now, there's a lot of other developers out there who are talking about, like, we all know that AI can't code, right? And Joe does a great article here, and I'll just highlight this one point that he's talking about where he's like, look, hey, when we're calling AI today makes an admirable attempt at slapping syntax together in a way that compiles and runs. And it doesn't always even compile. I find that most of the time that I get AI generated code that it won't even compile for me, actually. So currently right now, AI tests are running around 15 to 20%. And so, I mean, it's barely even good enough to be running like test suites in the current formats and current state. So I think we've got a long ways to go. And I think we can really see that I'm not the only one talking about this, right? It's not just about scale. There are fundamental questions about being raised about the reasoning ability of even the most advanced language model. A provocative essay goes into by Jim Nielsen argues that models like GPT-4 aren't really engaging in reasoning or understanding at all. They're just very sophisticated text predictors. And he goes on, and this is this article I was showing before about AI is hitting its scaling limits. Now, there's a lot of different stuff, and I'm only about halfway through the material, and I'm already at over 11 minutes in our video here. One last thing that I want to really poke at before I go for today, and I'll dive into this topic more, so I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. But one of the last pieces that I really want to talk about, because I think this is kind of proof of it. So OpenAI hasn't even released the O3 models, right? Because OpenAI's latest models are the ones that are supposedly able to reason. But one, they're so slow and they require so much computational power that right now it's costing up to $1,000 per query. That is insane. And everyone's like, whoa, but if you scale this, then it'll get better and this cost will come down. I actually disagree. I think it's going to get more expensive, right? Now it's scoring some, 87.7 on ARC AGI benchmarks. And I get they're doing some cool math. They're doing some great stuff, but it is not reasoning, right? Like that's the thing that I'm trying to get. This requires such a high level computation that we are hitting the limits of the amount of data that we can possibly come up with. Mark Zuckerberg was one of the first ones who knows quite a bit about this since his time through Metaverse and then into AI. And they have one of the largest models out there in the Lambda 3.2, 405 billion input. And he said that cost over $100 million to train the data on. That is an enormous amount of money. And with that goes electricity, goes hardware, a lot of things come into that. And so I really feel like we're really starting to see a lot of this. Oh, last thing that I want to get into is, again, we're not alone. Apple definitely has dove into this. They've been trying to get their Apple Intelligence launched, right? But their study proved that LLM-based AI models are flawed because they cannot reason. And so they put out a new paper from Apple's artificial intelligence science, and they found that engineers based on large language models, such as those from Meta and OpenAI, still lack reasoning skills. So they actually wanted to push it, and they called the word fragile, right? They said that specifically the systems are way too fragile to actually be able to be used in a production system. They were pushed and they ended up pushing out Apple's Apple Intelligence, which is totally a joke. It's not much better than Siri, and we all know how useless Siri has been for a lot of years. So anyways, this is just a few of my takes. I've kind of rambled through a bunch of things, But ultimately, I think we're really hitting scaling limits. I think there's reasoning and world-known logic that it just can't build into the AI yet. We haven't, we're just looking for a lack of diversity in training model, and we just have limits on these training models. Now, what are your thoughts? The best thing you can do for me is to leave a comment down below and to make sure to like and subscribe. Here at Startup Hack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps, as well as build custom software solutions for folks. So hit us up. And one of the last things I wanted to point out is check and look at the thumbnail on this image and see if you can even find, I used AI just to generate a part of the image, and see if you can find where even AI made a mistake in the actual generation of the thumbnail image that I'm using for this video. So otherwise, we will catch you guys next time.
Want to become a software developer but don't want to spend 4 years in college and rack up massive student loan debts? Think you need technical expertise to get started? Welcome to Startup Hack, a better way to start your software career without student loans and years without income. One-on-one tutoring is included so you never get stuck and have guidance through the whole process. No technical experience is necessary. Learn at your own pace and in your own space. Startup Hack has worked with local state agencies in your area to make it so that qualifying students can get the program costs covered entirely and students can start earning while they learn.
Hi, I'm Jacob, and I completed the full stack development course offered by Startup Hack. One thing setting Startup Hack apart from any other coding bootcamp was the quality of one-on-one tutoring available. All of the projects that we did were challenging and thought-provoking, but left me feeling very accomplished and very prepared for my first job that I was offered just days after completing the program.
Hello, I'm Tom, and I completed the full stack development course offered by Startup Hack, and I must say that it was an excellent experience. The tutors is what set this course apart from others. They were knowledgeable, experienced, and always available to help provide me with guidance and support. Do not hesitate to take advantage of this affordable and efficient software development course.
Complete our 3-month coding bootcamp, gain hands-on experience, and land a paid internship. With 2 years of experience, on average, our graduates are making over $80,000 per year. The 3-month program includes technologies from Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. No debt, just a quick path to earning. Check out startuphack.com to code your future and start today.